Hey everybody, welcome to the Arrow After Show. Now, of course, there is no Arrow until after the Olympics are done. I believe it comes back on February 26th, which just so happens to be my birthday, by the way. For those of you, the millions of you who've been writing in asking, John, we have gifts we want to give you. When can we send them? February 26th. But so we thought we would take this opportunity that, us Arrow fans, we still want to talk. We still want to talk Arrow, even though Arrow's not on the air right now. So this is another special bonus episode of the Arrow After Show. I'm your host, John Campea, and of course, joining me as always, first of all, sitting to my immediate left is Kaori Take.
Hey, guys. I'm really excited that we're doing this.
Yeah, and beside her, of course, is Anne.
What's up?
Maybe she's talking to your microphone.
What's up, archers?
Yeah, we're
testing that out.
Oh, is that your new word now?
I think I might be going
with arrowheads, so now it's
I want to be
archers?
respectful to those that are using arrowheads, so I'm thinking archers is winning the race right now. But you guys are giving me some really good Arrow fan names, so thank you.
Oh, yeah, we've been getting potential Arrow fan names
Aerobics, Aristotles.
I like the Aristotles.
Aeronauts.
Me too.
The Aeronauts was a good one, too.
There's some really good ones.
Yeah.
League of Arrows. You guys are great.
The list goes on and on and on and on. So thanks for joining us, guys. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about basically where we're at with the season so far, highlighting again some of the things that we've liked and not liked, where we think things are going, and then we're going to take a lot of time just taking the questions you guys have sent in to us on Facebook and on Twitter. And by the way, if you want us to get your question on our show, you can join us live, but tweet to us. Just tweet using the hashtag Arrow After Show. So hashtag Arrow After Show, and we go through those and we'll use them on our show, and we've got a bunch of them pulled out for today as well. So let's start right now. Anne, your assessment about where we're at right now, specifically really since we've come back from the mid-season break. We've got a few episodes under our belt now. How do you like the direction since the mid-season break and where everything seems to be going?
I think it seems to have picked up a lot in the few episodes we've had since the mid-season break to now. There's a lot of story going on with all of the various characters that they have on screen right now. So I think sharing of screen time might be an issue, but so far I think they've been doing a great job of handling the amount of characters that they have, and we still have yet to see what Slade's agenda is. And that for me is what's driving this latter half of the season that I'm really, really looking forward to. What does this guy have in store for Arrow? And are we going to see that epic battle that we're all waiting for?
Corey?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say, too, was that after we came back from the mid-season, we didn't see too much of Slade and Blood, but we are seeing quite a bit of other characters like Roy becoming whoever he's meant to becoming. And then also we've got Black Canary, and now Oliver and Sarah are maybe an item. And Laurel, big thing is now she knows what's going on with her sister. A lot of things are happening. So when we get back, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, but the one piece of dissatisfaction I have, and I'm sure they've done this on purpose, is that coming, with that mid-season break finale, ending with Slade and that big monologue he gives about how I'm going to tear him down piece by piece, and then I'm going to put an arrow through his eye. I've been wanting to see more of him coming back after the mid-season break, and they've used him very, very sparingly. And that's fine. That's cool, building up the anticipation. I'm sure they are doing that on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But as a fan, especially that one scene where he takes out all of Brother Blood's dudes, just like that, and he's got them all dead, I've been wanting to see more of that, but I've got no complaints about what they've been giving us. And here's one of the really cool things, especially going into the mid-season break and since then. I have been very critical of the way they've been handling the Laurel character. Everybody knows that for you guys who watch the show. I've been really super critical of the way they've been handling her. She's kind of been a waste of a character, but there's kind of a new direction they're going. Pardon me. Where we're seeing a different side of Laurel a little bit right now, where perhaps she's a little bit of the bitchier one, because they always kind of set up that Laurel, because really the story was told from her point of view when the show started. Laura was the good girl, and Sarah was the brat who ran off with Laurel's boyfriend. But in the stories we've been hearing from Sarah, and from what we're seeing the way Laurel is reacting to Sarah's return, and in the flashback with the Lance family stuff, they're kind of setting it up where there's a little bit of a bitchier side to Laurel. And I got to tell you, I like it. To me, it adds a new dimension to the character. Now, whereas in the earlier part of the season, I had kind of given up on Laurel and any role that she had in the show. I didn't care about her drug problem. I didn't care about her whininess. I didn't care about any of it. But now that they're adding this new kind of dimension to her, suddenly I'm interested in how she's going to affect the show. I'm interested in how the other characters are going to be interacting with her. Suddenly now, the characters become interesting to me again. Not that I'm as big on her as I am on Diggle and Felicity and all that kind of stuff, but she's become interesting to me again. The other thing I complain a little bit about is we're not getting enough of the Trinity. We're not getting enough. The chemistry between Oliver, Diggle, and Felicity, to me, is the heart of this show.
It's no longer a trinity, though. Now we got Roy in the mix.
Well, I'll go into that in a second.
And actually, we also will probably see Sarah in the mix as well.
True.
So it's expanding, but for what it is, the trio, the base of that group is you're right. It's the heart of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't. I mean, I think Diggle has had a grand total of about 6 lines in the last 2 episodes combined. I want more Diggle, and not just Diggle. I want more Diggle, Ollie, and Felicity. Not that we should have 30 minutes of them standing around in the Arrow Cave chatting, but a little bit more would be good. Talking about Canary. The fact that she was back, I don't know. They don't call it the Arrow Cave. We just call it the Arrow Cave. But in there doing the
salmon ladder?
The salmon ladder?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I totally forgot,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty badass.
That's hard.
And
have,
I want to
have
see...
Laurel do that, because then we will definitely know that she can fight if she could do the salmon
Yeah.
ladder.
Laurel couldn't do a pull-up. Come on. Come on. But other than that, I mean, they've been pacing the stories really great. Like we said on the last week's episode of the Arrow After Show, last week's Arrow was my favorite of the entire series so far. Loved that episode because it struck a great balance of the cool stuff, but really nice narrative, some really nice character development, the interaction. I mentioned before, Stephen Amell, I think it was his best performance yet. He really had the opportunity to really step up and do more things. They gave him more of a range of things to do. He did a great job. I think, I keep forgetting the name of the actress who plays Felicity. But
Emily Bett Rickards or
I can't
Emily Bett Richards, one of those.
But her scene with Moira, her best performance so far in that scene with Moira. We're seeing Moira becoming the woman you don't, pardon my language, the woman you don't want to fuck with. Moira's becoming that woman again. And I like, without becoming a bad guy, the show is now reminding us Moira is a bitch you don't want to mess with. And I love that she's showing her claws a little bit. So many good things about this.
And not to mention the strength of the show kind of behind the scenes, the writing, the stunts, the post-production, everything you can tell has gotten infinitely better and better as we go along.
The one thing this show needs to work on is these minor little, that makes no sense moments. Like, remember the moment when, what was Michael Jai White's character's name again?
Bronze Tiger.
Bronze Tiger. I was going to say Silver Sable. When Bronze Tiger. Okay, little
like a
moments.
WWE star.
Like Bronze Tiger, right, is in the prison, and he's in a cell, and the guard comes in all by himself, sees a guy, a bloody mess on the floor, gets down on his knees, turns his back to the other inmate. I'm like, oh, come on. Or, Oliver and, like last week's episode, Oliver and Sarah chasing after the van, and then just giving up the chase and going, Wah! Just get back on the bike and keep chasing them. I find this show suffers a little bit from, we don't know how to make this scene make sense, so let's just not worry about
it.
Probably if they give it a little more thought, they can make the scene make sense.
But they know we need to connect this with this, so let's just throw them in the same situation.
Just go with it. Who cares?
But, that's like any of the other, I don't know if it's just CW, but that's like any other television. You got to kind of suspend belief in some.
Especially CW.
Yeah, especially.
It just drives me crazy when they do it so right with the bigger issues and the important scenes. Then when it comes to these little scenes, they don't even give a second thought. So why don't Oliver and Sarah continue the chase? We don't know. We're just going to commercial break anyway.
Or how do we lure the villain in? Let's have a party. That's always the
Let's have a party.
always the
Or,
solution.
Wait a minute. Didn't Sarah already have her big "I'm poisoned" and dramatic collapse? Let's make her do
Oh,
it
yeah.
again.
Oh, dear.
They've got to find ways to fix those because they just make me giggle and roll my eyes a little bit. I should say, on the last episode, we pointed out, wait a minute, why is in the flashback, in the Lance family flashback, he's watching a CFL football game? Because those the Toronto Argonauts and the Montreal Alouettes. I was like, why is he watching CFL football? And some people in the chat board brought up a great point. They said, well, because honestly, buying rights to replay a CFL game is probably dirt cheap compared to trying to buy rights to an NFL football game.
That's very true.
Yes, and the CFL is a pretty damn entertaining brand of football. I just want to point that out. So
You had to plug.
yeah. So one of the things that have stood out to you about since we've come back from the midseason break that have stood out to you that have been really important and that maybe give you a glimpse into where we're going.
I mean, I keep saying it. I'm really happy that Roy is finally something. I know you're not a fan.
Oh, and can I say, I was so happy Roy wasn't even in the last episode at all.
Hence why it's your favorite.
Hence why it was my favorite episode of the series so far. Anyway, keep going.
I'm just thinking like everything is kind of coming together in the a couple episodes that we've seen. We've got Moira. I'm wondering how we're going to deal with her. I think Merlin's going to come back. And there's more progression with the League of Assassins now, especially accumulating up to this episode. There's just so much going on that I'm really excited about. Yeah.
But so I mean, we're just guessing here. We don't actually know anything. We're guessing. So, Anne, where do you guess we're heading?
Well,
things you've seen?
I'm guessing that there's something quietly brewing in the background with all of these various groups that are starting to come together, whether it be Amanda Waller and
Argus,
Argus, right? The League of Assassins, which we know exists. And then what does Slade have? Does he have an army that he's also growing with Brother Blood and whoever else? And then Arrow kind of forming his own little group with Sarah potentially being in the group and now Roy in the group.
And we know Huntress is coming.
And Huntress is coming back. Where is she going to go fit into the mix?
She's like my Roy.
Oh, that's right.
She's got a lot of hate for Huntress. But, so they're putting all these groups together, and I imagine that as we get closer to the season finale, we're going to see all of that come together. And one thing that I read in an article, I think it was Andrew Kreisberg that they were interviewing, one of the writers of the show, who said that they write the show as if there's not going to be another season. And
that's the way to do it.
And that's the way to do
Yes.
it, because you just never know nowadays what's going to happen, what's going to get canceled, what's going to become unpopular. So the fact that we're seeing so much story coming at us every week, I'm no longer surprised by it, I guess, after reading that. Because they have all these things that they want to come together, and we're seeing it happen every week. It's an overload, definitely an overload, but an exciting one.
Agreed. Well, listen, guys. You guys, it's amazing how active you guys are in the chat boards and sending us tweets and stuff like that. So we want to spend some time interacting with the messages you guys have been sending us. So we got our friend Ryan over here, and he's got a whole bunch of the questions and everything pulled up. So, Ryan, what are some of the things people have been asking and sending in?
All right. The first question is from Nico Caruso off YouTube. I guess it's probably pretty much for John. If you were to fix Roy, what would you change specifically about his character?
I would take his head off of his body and have him lying in an alley.
know.
The character. Okay, look, let me... Okay, I've become pretty infamous. I do not like the Roy character at all. One of the commenters actually pointed this out to me, and I didn't even think of it this way, but he was absolutely right. One of the things that has never worked with me about this Roy character, once again, to use an Aladdin quote, he's supposed to be this street rat, right? Perfectly coiffed hair, perfect skin complexion, perfect teeth, perfect everything, already a ninja. And one of the people in the chat board actually articulated it in a way I never thought of. He said, he's supposed to be this poor kid from the wrong side of the tracks, but really, he comes across as a billionaire, rich, snot-nosed kid, and you never believe for a second that he's from the wrong side of the tracks, all this kind of nonsense. You never believe it for a second, and I don't. And I've never believed they've given him any emotional depth. Everything's very whiny. I don't like him. I wouldn't want to hang out with that guy.
But he's young, and, he's dating Thea, so I think that's probably why the fact that he's being taken care of by Thea is probably why he's embellished, and now he's looking in better shape. I mean, he's sleeping in the Queen House.
Well, yeah.
Well, I'm
sleeping
with John.
people
I'm with John on that. I don't believe the backstory. I don't, and I kind of wish they just portrayed him as what John just said. You know, a rich kid that maybe lost his parents and now he's lost his way. Instead of trying to convince us that he grew up and had a tough life and blah blah blah.
I'm from the streets.
Yeah.
I don't buy it for a second.
Not even like when he first appeared. Did you guys believe it then?
No. I never. Right from the beginning, I've never been into the Roy character. So I mean, but I'm not gonna be the type of guy that just goes, just write him off.
Yeah.
No.
Don't. I still have hope that the writers have a grander plan. I know that the writers have a grander plan for him, but I just hope it starts to execute better because honestly, whenever Roy is on screen, to me that's nap time.
Huh.
It's time. Oh, Roy's on screen. Now I can run and get another soda, or now I can go to the bathroom, and I know I ain't missing anything. And that's just. And I don't like feeling that way about any of the characters in the show, but I do feel that way about Roy. I don't like the fact that he's been introduced now into the Arrow family per se. Although I was really happy to see that they didn't even bother using him at all in the last episode. But and I know my dislike of Roy irritates a lot of people. And I get that. It irritates me. I don't like not liking Roy. I want to like Roy, but they seriously, in the 100 things that they do absolutely right on this show, Roy is one of the things they've done wrong. In my opinion, they've just handled this character wrong. And they haven't presented him well. That he's not likable. I don't buy into the character they're trying to show us. And I just hope they're able to... Look, there have been about 8 other things in Arrow that I thought they haven't done well, that progressively over the seasons they've got better and better and better at. Laurel's a great example of that. Suddenly now, they've done something with Laurel now, and I'm starting to get interested in her again. I'm waiting for that to happen with Roy, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed. What do you guys think? But actually, what do you think... Let me ask you, Kaori.
Yes.
As someone who sits on the other side of the Roy issue with me, what do you think? Let's pretend I wasn't here. If someone were to ask you this question...
Okay.
What do they have to do with Roy to make a guy like John like the character?
That's
what do you
hard.
think they'd have to do?
Well, you're a tough critic, so that's really hard. I think that they have to make a better storyline off of him and not just have him jump into the clan. I think that you have no attachment towards him because... Yeah, he just kind of came out of nowhere. Thea took him in, and we see snippets of him, and he does kind of look like a little bratty kid instead of a guy who's struggling. He has no depth where you feel... I'm talking negative about him, yet I like him. But he has no depth where you feel like emotionally invested in him at all. So then when he's finally joining the Trinity, you're
You
thinking,
just sound like a
what?
standard woman talking about her man. That's really... And sorry, go on.
But I mean, I still like him. I feel intrigued by him because he is part of the Arrow clan, and he has potential to really help Oliver and elevate him as well. So I think we're waiting for that. To see how he works with Oliver is what's important. I don't care how he works with Thea. I don't care how he works with himself right now, but how he struggles with Oliver, I think that is what excites me, is that these two together have a possible really, really interesting relationship.
I want to see Sarah kick his ass.
I don't want to see that.
You know what? I would almost like Roy a little bit more. If they say, okay, you think you're so tough now because you got this hyped up steroid strength? Okay, Sarah, teach him a lesson. And just have Sarah kick his ass. I would love that.
Can I just say, because I missed last episode's after show, I did not like Oliver and Sarah kiss. I didn't like it. It made me really sad.
I loved it.
No.
I like the kiss. I just thought the way, of course, CWS, they had to set up the scene so cheesy with that weird music playing in the background
Yeah.
and them coming together in the scene. But for what it is, I think it makes sense, just like how I thought at the time Huntress and Oliver made sense.
It
She's-
did.
Oh,
It did.
no.
It did.
Good for him. They've gone through the same struggle. They
It changed
understand
by the
each
end
other.
of that episode, but it temporarily made sense with Huntress and Oliver. It temporarily made sense.
Right. It was
at the time.
convenient
Yeah,
for
it was
him at the
convenient,
time.
and it seemed to make sense. Yeah, and I like. Look, I've always, ever since they introduced Sarah onto the show, I've always felt 10 times better match for Oliver than Laurel, and I could totally see her as the love interest as Canary is supposed to be. And Sarah, to me, I know a lot of people are still holding on to this thing about Laurel becoming Canary. Sarah is the Canary to me, and she embodies it great. She is that character. She's got the backstory that matches why she would have all these abilities. And I really like the kiss a lot. I like that they're hooking up. Now, I did not like the kiss as much as the Nisa and Sarah kiss. That to me, if I had a flag, I would be waving the flag when that scene happened. That was hot. But other than that, I mean, really, I dug it a lot. But I knew when we watched the episode, it's like, Corey is not liking this.
I was like, no, don't, no.
So who would you, at this point in time, see Oliver in a relationship with?
That's... Nobody. Me?
I mean, we know me. There are Felicity fans out there who really want him with Felicity. I mean, but I just don't think they're ever going to go there.
I agree. But the thing with Oliver and the relationships he's chosen, he's always choosing these characters that have conflict within themselves. And I want him to find a good girl because he's already very conflicted. He's got a lot of issues that he needs to sort out. So he doesn't need a woman with the same problems. That's why I'm thinking no canary, no huntress.
She can relate with his issues and his problems.
But then they're going to go in the deep hole together.
And she's hot. And she can kick ass.
They can salmon ladder climb together.
And he doesn't have to run after and rescue her every 5 minutes like he does with Laurel.
Well, Laurel also has issues, though. I'm talking about a good girl with no issues.
And which is the embodiment of Felicity, right?
Yes, but then I don't think he's ready for that. That's why he's going after these conflicted
But you know what
women.
I think we might have mentioned this in the show before. The thing about Oliver and Felicity, I'm sorry, and we will get to the next question in a second. It reminds me this relationship between Laurel and Felicity reminds me an awful lot of the relationship between Clark and Chloe on
You mean
Smallville.
Oliver and Felicity? You said Laurel and
Did I say
Felicity.
sorry? That's a next episode.
Would you like Laurel then?
Suddenly now Laurel's become much more interesting. No, sorry. The relationship between Oliver and Felicity reminds me an awful lot of another CW show, Smallville, and the relationship between Clark and Chloe. And I think they're never going to cross that line. But who knows? We'll see. Sorry, we got to get to the next question. Ryan, what else we got over there?
All right. This question comes off Twitter from Gene Farrell, and he wants to know, do you guys think we might see any Flash villains this season since Barry is supposed to come back?
I think more importantly, we're going to see, not more importantly, but I think if we're going to see anything from that section, it would be Barry Allen coming back, not necessarily any villains.
I agree. I think they're going to keep all of the villains for this potential series that they're...
I'm going to disagree with you guys. I'm going to say I think it would be very smart for them to introduce one or two. I think it would help the Flash's chances as a show. Introduce one or two of his villains on Arrow before they move over, and then you see them again. Like, they get away. They do something in Starling City. They get away, and then they reappear there. Now more people recognize them. They know what's going on. It might be a good move on their part. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. I wouldn't be surprised. I think it would be a pretty good move. Okay, what else we got?
Okay, the next question comes off of YouTube from Madden0034, and he says, "Hey, John and crew, I kind of think Slade will end up killing Oliver's mother later this season, because Oliver originally loses both of his parents in a plane crash, at least in some of the Green Arrow comics I've read. So since he's already lost his dad, I think the writers are going to kill off his mom soon, and it would be the perfect time to have Slade do it, since he's running against his pawn, Sebastian Blood, for mayor. What are your guys' thoughts on this?"
Ooh.
It makes sense. All right? It makes total... What you're writing in that question makes total sense. I just feel that unlike Thea, who I believe they have Thea in a position right now where she could be easily expendable. I feel like they're investing more in Moira at this point. I have a feeling Moira is going to be around. Now watch it. She's going to die in the next episode.
I know.
But what you're saying does make sense. If Slade says, I'm going to deal with her, if they want to ramp up the Deathstroke Arrow hate,
Oh, yeah.
kill Moira.
Yep.
That would do it. But I just feel like they're really investing into her right now as a show. And so I don't think they're going to do that, but it would make sense.
But we have a lot of episodes left in the season, too, so that we could probably invest all this time and emotion in Moira. And by the end of the season, if they kill her off, the audience is just going to be stunned and sad. And that would be a really good emotional
Well, look at one of my
thing
other
to
favorite
have
shows, right? One of
us
my
go
other
through.
favorite shows on TV right now, Sons of Anarchy. they were really starting. If you don't watch Sons of Anarchy, first of all, you should. But this won't make much sense to you. But for those of you who do watch the show, they were starting to reinvest more and more into Opie.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was becoming a bigger, because he used to be major, then they reduced his role a bit, and then they were making him big and major again. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they killed him, which broke my heart because it was my favorite character on that show. But it was effective, and maybe that's what they're doing with Moira.
I like it.
Yeah, and it would also add to the like Oliver being very conflicted, because right now he has a very bad relationship with his mom, and he's saying all these negative things to her. I think the last thing he said was, "You're not.
We're done.
We're done.
You and I are done."
So imagine if she dies while during this time he says something negative. Oh my gosh.
But also, they have ebbs and flows with Oliver, right? Like, sometimes when the show first started, he was very dark. And then he's gone. As the first season progressed, his more human connections were bringing him more to the side of his humanity again, to ultimately to the point where after the death of Tommy, he says, okay, I'm not even going to kill anymore. So he's gone that way. Maybe the death of Moira and the killing of Moira could be something that starts to swing him back the other way again. Because that's one of the things I love about the show, and why Oliver always feels like such a fresh character is that they never say, okay, now he's a good guy and he doesn't kill anybody. And then, oh yeah, somebody put a gun to Felicity's head and he'll kill again. And I love the fact that they always have like real people. They have ebbs and flows back and forth. They have a little pendulum, and that could be something. I still don't think they're going to kill Moira. But it could serve a lot of cool purposes if they did. They could do it.
Good theory.
All right, what's next?
Okay, this question comes off Twitter from Tom Capone. Who will Arrow have to team up with to fight the Suicide Squad?
I don't know that we're going to have a Suicide Squad, although it seems pretty like, especially after Amanda said, we're putting together a squad.
I think it's possible.
There's episode 16, I think, that's actually titled Suicide Squad.
I still don't think we're going to see it.
And raised her hand.
Of course we are. No, obviously, when Amanda came on screen and said, we're putting together a squad.
Like, how much more obvious?
All that scene was lacking was Amanda going, yeah, they made that kind of brutally obvious.
He's got some tools right now, I think.
That's what I was going to say.
Does.
I don't think that at this moment he necessarily needs any extra help. He's got Canary, he's got Redman, I'm calling him Redman.
Diggle.
Roy, Diggle, who definitely needs to show more action because
he needs to kick more ass.
I mean, the first couple episodes ever, he was a bodyguard. He was badass. Where'd that go?
He's got that paramilitary background,
and he's bigger than Oliver.
He's a beast.
Yes. Has anyone else noticed how big he's gotten this
honestly,
season?
That's why I think they don't show him on the show without a shirt on. Honestly, because it almost makes Oliver diminutive because Diggle is huge. I actually found this publicity shot online where it's Roy, Oliver, and Diggle, all three guys standing with their arms crossed, shirtless. And it's like, okay, dude, beast! Diggle is big and ripped.
How come we haven't seen that picture?
I know,
like,
excuse me.
Where's this topless photo you're talking about? No, but they have the brains with Felicity. They've got bronze with Diggle, and they got the tactical skills with Oliver and Canary. And then they have, who am I missing? Roy, who's got the strength.
Yeah,
so
Roy,
he just needs a little training.
Roy can be the human shield. Roy can be the human shield of the group. Just they're shooting at us. Quick, get behind Roy and let him die. That'd be great. But
don't die.
They
might have the Huntress too, by the way.
Yeah, Huntress is coming back in. It's not going to be Merlin. If he's going to team up with Merlin for anything, you know what? Somebody wrote this theory to me on our YouTube channel, and it sounds completely far-fetched, but it's very interesting. We all suspect Tommy's coming back. Nobody's told us this at all. We're just guessing, okay? What if the League brings Tommy back, and they've got him brainwashed, and they have Tommy, and the only sign of humanity Merlin ever showed us was that he actually does love his son. That's the only humanity we've ever seen in that character, which is kind of cool. What if that becomes the impetus of why Merlin and Arrow have to team up, because they want to get Tommy back? That's an interesting theory. I don't know that that's going to actually happen. I don't really think it is, but that's a pretty interesting. So I don't think Merlin is going to team up with them to fight Suicide Squad, because I think they're saving that for a League of Assassins storyline. But as far as who else they could? I think Anne's right. He's got his team. He's got a great team, and I think they're probably going to do that. All right, what's next?
Okay, this question comes off Twitter also. It's from Smoke and Arrow. Female friendships on Arrow are sparse. If you could see two women become friends, who would they be?
Nisa and Sarah. I want to see more of their friendship. No, I don't know, because the personality types, it's a great observation. The personality types they have. For instance, I could not see Felicity and Laurel hanging out.
No.
I could not see Thea and Laurel hanging out. I could not see Sarah and Felicity hanging out. They have written such strong female characters that their characteristics are so distinctive and strong that I have a hard time imagining chemistry between them. So that's a great I've never even really thought about that, but the observation is incredible. As opposed to like Diggle and Oliver, I totally see them getting along. Roy dies friendless. I could totally see that.
You're so bad.
Sorry, I'm just harping on it. But you're right. It is difficult.
Well, they tried to do the whole story with Laurel mentoring Thea for just a few episodes.
Didn't work.
It didn't work. And she's right. They're just too strong and kind of competing personalities.
Yeah, I agree. I think what's more important is the kinds of like conflict or interesting storyline two women can create. Just like Sarah and Laurel, who are sisters, suddenly have, one of them hates the other. That's going to be really interesting to see this kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And see how that grows.
And that is actually Laurel's irrational blow up at Sarah, to me, made her more interesting. Because now, you're right, I'm interested in the relationship dynamic between Sarah and Laurel. And before last week's episode, I wasn't. And they found a way to make that interesting again. So just one of the ways that they seem to be improving on this character even more. All right, what's next?
Okay, this question's off Twitter also from the Tomorrow People UK. Now that Oliver knows about Thea, should we expect Merlin to show up anytime soon? I'm sure they both have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. I think Oliver finding out becomes, for us as the audience, kind of the harbinger of just get ready. I don't know when Merlin's going to pop back up, but I think now we're prepared as an audience. So if he pops up out of nowhere halfway through the next episode, it's not going to shock us, because they're now paving the way for that to come in, and a new level of conflict for why Oliver will hate Merlin. But anyway, how do you guys see that?
Go ahead.
Oh gosh, I'm with you there. I'm just scared to see Merlin and Oliver's next interaction, because it's going to be a bad one.
Yeah, I love seeing John Barrowman every single time he's on the Arrow show. Yeah, it's going to be definitely a bad one. And because he tried to kill him.
That'll do it. That'll hurt your relationship.
By the way, your sister is my daughter.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
So do you kind of want to call me dad?
And
or?
I slept with your mom when she was still married to your dad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Oh, and I shot you with an arrow a couple times. Yeah. All right, what's next?
Okay, the next question's from ODog86 off Twitter, and he says, do you guys see Thea or Moira Queen dying this season?
Yeah. If I had to put money on it, I'd say I wouldn't put money on it. I would not put money on it. But as we just talked about Moira, that even though I believe they're investing in her and I believe she's going to be around a long time, there are many things they can do from a plot point of view with the death of Moira Queen. So that's definitely a possibility. Thea feels to me expendable right now. I've been liking the character a little bit more, but even though I like her more, she does still have that smell of expendability on her, that they could use her death as a plot device as well. So and once again, now the fact that he knows that Merlin's her father, that could become another key thing for Merlin and Oliver to team up. Maybe not to get Tommy back, but maybe to protect Thea. So that becomes an issue. But do I think they'll kill either of them off? No. But I could absolutely see scenarios in which they would. I won't be surprised if they do. What do you guys think?
No, you're right. I think Moira has a bigger potential. Like, from the fan that said that whole theory, I wasn't even considering that. But now that it's in my head, I'm like, holy crap, they could go with so many angles if Moira dies. Although Moira is one of my favorite characters, so I really don't want to see it happen.
I think Thea also, if she died, because she has a huge tie with Oliver, huge tie with her mom, because her mom she still loves her mom, and Oliver said, no, I don't love you anymore, pretty much. And then we've got Roy, and then now we have Daddy Merlin, who might return. So I think Thea would be a huge plot device, and a really good one, too.
She is kind of like a piece of connective tissue between all those characters, isn't she? Very, very quietly, Thea becomes the connective tissue between all those characters. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
Okay, the next question is from Daniel Dwyer off Twitter, and he wants to know, hey, John and Co. love the show. Do you think Roy could still turn out like Slade Wilson, or do you think he's safe now?
Somebody wrote in a theory that he will actually become an acolyte of Slade. At some point, he will be turned to Slade's side. And I don't know that I buy that, but it's a very interesting theory. And I see it as a feasibility, even though I don't think that's where they're going to go. I think they're going to keep Roy boring, yawn, good boy.
He's not a good boy.
No, see, they try to tell you he's not a good boy, but with his perfectly coiffed hair, he is a good boy.
I believe it.
That's the most I've heard that word, coiffed.
Coiffed. But it's possible that could happen. I won't fall over shock if that happened, but I don't think it's likely. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, one of the side effects of Mirakuru has always been that, if you don't control it or know how to maintain it, you're eventually going to come to the dark side or whatever it is. It's going to drive you to some sort of insanity or just kind of make you trapped within yourself. So if Roy doesn't continue to have some sort of guidance or mentoring from somebody, I could see it happening, because we already see him kind of going overboard when he's trying to beat up these different criminals and nearly killing them.
And remember, Slade in the mid-season break, in that final big speech that Slade gives, he says he's going to basically corrupt everything in Oliver's world. One of those steps, he's already changed the relationship between Oliver and Laurel forever. Mm-hmm. One of those things could be getting his hands on Roy and turning him to the dark side. I mean, that is one of the things that Slade could very well do. I mean, it would fit in with everything else Slade said he was going to do.
I have a feeling that it would be Felicity over Roy for some reason, because when he was talking about it in that mid-season finale, we had Felicity's face in there. And I know this might be me thinking too much. He's going to turn her into
a little slut. Felicity becomes a little slut.
No way.
Well, I think that what I kind of observed was the fact that Oliver told Roy the truth kind of set him free, and it protected him, because Oliver didn't tell Slade the truth, and that's kind of what pushed him to the dark side. So I think Roy's safe.
That's a very interesting observation.
We'll see if it works.
All right, let's take a couple more.
Okay, this question comes from Mark Jason Ali off Twitter. Love the show, guys. My question is, isn't Ra's al Ghul more of a Batman villain? Love how he's being used, but isn't he more of a Batman rogue?
Yeah, he is traditionally, but he really, when you look at the quintessential Batman villains, you're looking at Penguin, you're looking at Joker, you're looking at Riddler, you're looking at Bane, you're looking at Catwoman, you're looking at characters like that, Mr. Freeze. And those characters are synonymous with Batman. Mm-hmm. Whereas, a Ra's al Ghul is not synonymous with Batman. And so I think it was a very interesting decision that Warner Brothers and CW made to use a version of this character in the Arrow universe. And I think, like I said, I think he's not synonymous with the character of Batman enough that they had the freedom to do it, and I think still make it work and make it work well. What do you guys think?
I think I agree that Ra's al Ghul is actually a very big Batman character, but it is nice to see him in this universe. I actually like having a Batman villain / character kind of come into the Arrow universe, which shows that it's not exclusively for Arrow, but it's DC Comics in general, and I really like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's synonymous with Batman. I think there's a link now, because we've seen how Liam Neeson portrayed him in Dark Knight, and now people know who this character is a little bit more, and they're kind of putting that connection together. But I think we don't see enough of this character on screen, so I'm glad they put him also in this universe as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's take just a couple more.
Okay, this question comes from Carlos Wachua 13 off YouTube, and he says, Why didn't you guys talk about the canary supersonic scream that Sarah used in last week's episode?
Well, I mean, we've talked about the scream before. We talked about the scream the first time she used it. Remember
Yes.
when Oliver walked into that police trap that Laurel set, and she came in, she used the device for the supersonic scream, and it was interesting that they decided to go away from the superpowers idea and gave it a scientific base of a device. And you're right; it probably bared mentioning when she did that before to blow out the windows and everything like that. We probably should have mentioned it, but it was nice seeing them use that device.
But I
again.
think you were more caught up on the fact that they didn't chase after the van.
Yeah, me too.
That we kind of missed over the fact that, yes, Sarah did use the canary scream. And then some of the fans in the comments were actually thinking the fact that she stayed and screamed was kind of just a shout out to the actual ability that the character would have in the comics.
At the cost of common sense, it was a
Yes.
very nice wink of the eye to the canary scream.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay, this question comes from that Asian minion off Twitter, and he says,
Is that me? No.
he says, does Slade know that Oliver and Sarah already know each other during the island flashbacks?
One more time?
Does Slade already know that Oliver and Sarah know each other, like during the flashbacks, that they got to the island together?
I
or
haven't
whatever?
thought about it, but I just assume that he does.
Yeah, I think so.
I had made that assumption as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see.
2 more, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay. Next question from Jeremy Foley off Twitter. How will Felicity and Barry's relationship factor into the Flash spinoff? No mention of him since being in the coma.
Yeah, once again, this point cannot be emphasized enough, and I know we emphasize and talk about it a lot. Remember, there is no Flash show. There is a Flash pilot that's been ordered, but the majority of pilots that get ordered never actually go to series. I think even the show creators aren't really going to know what they're going to do with the relationship between Felicity and Barry until they know what's happening with the Flash show. I mean, because look, there's a very real scenario here that the Flash pilot, much like the Wonder Woman pilot, doesn't get ordered to series, and then I think they have a contingency plan of how to bring Barry back into the Arrow universe and work that out with Felicity. I also think they probably have a contingency plan, what they're hoping for, that the pilot's great, the network loves it, it gets ordered to series. Okay, now then they have a decision to make. What do they do with Felicity? Do they just abandon the relationship between Felicity and Barry, which I think was just a plot device to get us to like Barry? And I think they could easily abandon that relationship, keep Felicity in Arrow, have Barry in his own show. But there's also a possibility they could bring Felicity off of Arrow and bring her into a Flash show.
Don't do that.
To help boost the Flash show,
Sure.
right? Because if
That's
you
a
bring
good
that
point.
character over, I remember there was that Star Trek show, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And they were struggling with ratings a little bit. So what they do, they went and got another popular Star Trek character, Worf, who was in Star Trek Next Generation, and brought him into the Star Trek Deep Space Nine show, and it got more people interested in the show. If Flash gets ordered to series, they may want to bring an established character over from Arrow into that. I don't know that that's what they're going to do. I'm just saying that could be one possibility. So your possibilities are the show doesn't go to series, they bring Barry back. The show does go to series and they just abandon the Felicity relationship with Barry, or the show goes to series and they bring Felicity over. I think the most likely scenario is the show goes to series, that's just a guess, and they abandon the relationship. What do you guys think?
That's also what I'm banking on as well, as that's what's going to happen. We might see Barry Allen come back into Starling City a little bit, but I think it's mainly...
Oh, yeah, I think there's going to be crossover no matter what. I think if the Flash show goes to series, you're going to, once in a while, you're going to see Arrow show up in Flash's show. You're going to see Flash show up in Arrow's show.
And I hate to say it, but Felicity is, I mean, I want to say it, but I don't think they would do this, is that if they took Felicity away from the Arrow fans, there would be some sort of outrage or riot.
Outrage? Yeah.
Yeah, and I hate to,
definitely.
the reason I said I hate to say this is sometimes I think that the fans do dictate what they do with these characters. I don't know if this is actually true. Maybe you could
I
speak
think
to
they
that.
listen. I think the guys at CW and the writers of Arrow listen.
So I'm pretty sure they would know if they took Felicity away that some
Sure.
people would be a little...
There would be some tears.
Yes.
And some anger. All right, folks. We've been going for a while now. Hey, Ray, you got any idea how long we've been going?
No, I don't.
Okay, we'll be going for a while.
Yes.
That'll do it for this special installment of the Arrow After Show, which is with not really an after show because there was no episode of Arrow this week. But thanks for joining us, guys. I want to thank, of course, Kaori. Kaori, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Kaorious, Kaorious.
And Anne, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Campea.
And you can find me on the various social media channels, just at John Campea. Thanks a lot, guys. Hey, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Keep up to date on all of our Arrow after shows and also other after shows that we're going to get started on our channel here. But thanks a lot for watching, guys. And don't forget, keep sending in your questions and things you'd like us to address and bring up on the show. Tweet them to us using the hashtag ArrowAfterShow. So that'll do it for us, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. And until next time, see you later.